Welcome to People Want to Know, an immigration segment where we answer your immigration questions. I'm JP Dominguez, and actually I don't answer them. We have attorney Jessica Dominguez, my mother, who I'm very, very proud of. Let's get a close-up of her right now. And let's get started.
Don't you love him? This is my son. I'm so proud of him.
Well, let's just not do that right now, and let's get into this next question called People Want to Know. And the person that wants to know this week is Sandy, and she writes to us from New York. She is a U.S. citizen and wants to help her husband. Her husband is undocumented. He came in without a visa, but he has never been deported, and he does not have 245I.
This, I want to stop you before you continue, because a couple of factors that you just mentioned are very important for what we're going to be talking about. They're very important because she tells us that her husband did not come in with a visa.
Correct.
He also does not have the protection of 245I, and that is important to emphasize because we're going to be talking about the I-601 waivers, which are specifically to be able to request that the 3 or 10-year bars get waived, correct?
Correct.
If we had a situation such as a U.S. citizen spouse who needed to file a petition for their spouses who are undocumented, but they came in with a visa, or if they had the protection of 245I, they would not have to follow the process that we're going to be talking about. So this is very specific as to the factors that were given to us regarding this question. Okay?
Thank you for clearing that up. Her question is, she is ready to start the process for him to get his residency. Can she file the waiver already?
Okay, and if you have any questions about the waivers, about the 3 and 10-year bars, I want to invite you to watch the video that we did last week, right?
Correct.
Where we talked about the I-601A waivers, we talked about the 3 and 10-year bars. But for all of you out there who already know that you must file a waiver, we're going to be talking about the question that was submitted to us by Sandy. She wants to know if she can file the waiver. Not so fast. Before you can even register a waiver, she has to file an I-130 petition.
What is the I-130?
The I-130 is a family petition that Sandy has to register for her spouse in order to get the relationship approved. In other words, it must be proven to the United States and Citizenship and Immigration Services that a relationship between Sandy and her husband exists.
Great. So you mentioned that relationship. What type of relationship constitutes what I always hear is the term immediate relatives. What is an immediate relative? Excellent question.
The reason why we are talking about immediate relatives in pertaining to this question is because since we're going to be talking about the I-601As, USCIS has specifically told us that this new process that starts on March 4th of 2013
Correct.
is for immediate relatives. And immediate relatives in this case are 3 groups of people: parents of U.S. citizens, children under the age of 21 and single of U.S. citizens, and also spouses. That is why Sandy gets to file this I-130, and once it gets approved, she can take advantage of the new change, and her husband can register the waiver for the 3 and 10-year bar here inside of the United States.
The I-601A waiver.
Exactly.
On March
4th of 2013.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I'm looking at these papers that you have over here, and it looks like you have sort of a 2-page form. And to me, it looks fairly simple. Is it a long process? Is it?
Well,
is this the form for the I-130?
This is the I-130 form. It's a 2-page form. But I want everyone out there to understand that immigration is not just about filling out forms. Immigration laws are to be respected. And even though you're talking about a 2-page form, it is important that every question gets answered correctly. It is very important that people know that certain questions need a lot of explanation and must be supplemented with evidence. Not only do they have to file the I-130, but also the G325A needs to be completed as well. What's the G325A? It's biographic information about Sandy and about her spouse.
Great, and where can I find these forms?
They can go to the USCIS.gov webpage, and we have that address on camera as well, so it's easy for them to follow the link.
Great. Now that we've gone over that it's not simple and that obviously the mother that you are corrected your son, how can you give us what I would call maybe some recommendations to fill out this form? Maybe 5 recommendations. See if you can do it. Come on, let's go.
Okay. Well, the first one would be as they are preparing themselves to file the I-130, that they print the I-130, they print the G325A because those forms are going to be needed, and that they read every single question first. Then that they also print the instructions. A lot of people just complete these forms, but they don't read the instructions. And it is very, very important that you do not only print the instructions, that you read them, but that you also follow them, because there's a really good explanation as to how you need to complete each form.
Great. Okay, recommendation number 1, read the instructions.
Exactly.
Fairly simple, but not really simple, because you need to do it really, really carefully. Let's move on right to recommendation number 2.
Evidence of the bona fide marriage. In other words, evidence that this marriage is a real marriage, that Sandy is not just marrying this person in order to help him get status in the United States. They can register evidence such as, for example, if they have children, they can register the birth certificates for their children, because that would prove that this is not a fake marriage, right? That this is a real marriage.
Right.
But what about young couples nowadays, that they get married and they don't want to have children immediately? They wait to have their families. They can register other evidence. For example, joint bank accounts. They can register evidence of any property that they have bought together. Also, auto insurance policies, health insurance policies. Any evidence with both of their names that would show the immigration officer who's processing this application that this is a real marriage.
Great. Recommendation number 2, show evidence of a bona fide marriage, child birth certificates, joint bank accounts, and joint property. Anything that evidences that.
Yes, and maybe a few family pictures as well. That would be
great. Let's move on to recommendation number 3. What do you have for us?
Do not forget to translate every single document into the English language. One of the mistakes that people make all the time is that they register documents from different countries and they're not translated into English, and that delays the process. So translate every document into English.
And what happens if you don't?
If you don't, you will get a letter from immigration asking you to comply with that request, and it's just going to take longer for them to approve your petition.
I know from a lot of my friends who applied for deferred action, they would have to get their translation certified. Do they have to do the same thing in this case?
Yes, for every translation, if you follow the instructions, the person who's translating the document, they just have to certify that they speak English and Spanish and that they could translate the document that is now being given to USCIS.
Great, sounds simple. So 3, translate every document you have into English and get it certified. Let's move on to number 4. Dun, 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 4.
Don't forget to include your photos. You need passport pictures for both of you, for Sandy and your spouse. Don't forget to register those. Also, please don't forget to sign the form. That's another mistake that it's very common. And don't forget to send the money order. It is important that in order for USCIS to process your petition, that the money order gets registered as well.
Okay, so if I'm taking a passport photo of myself, do I take it of my spouse as well, or just of myself?
You need passport pictures for both the petitioner spouse and the beneficiary spouse.
Okay, great. So recommendation number 4?
That was the one that I just gave you.
So it's include your passport photos of you and your spouse. Let's go on to the last but not least recommendation número
5.
Okay, vamos.
5. And that is, when you file your petition, make sure that you send it via certified mail, return receipt requested, and that way you have proof that this petition has been filed. And it should not take more than 4 weeks for everyone to receive their receipt from USCIS, from Citizenship and Immigration Services. Once you get that receipt, we are showing you here on screen a sample of a petition that was filed and a receipt that was sent. And you can see here where you would find your receipt number. Why is this receipt number important? Because you can go to the link that we also give you here on screen, and you can check the status of your application. So that's the beauty of technology nowadays.
Great. And how long does it take for this whole thing to approve? Let's say if I send in my I-130, what's the normal time?
It shouldn't take more than 6 to 8 months. However, because of this new process that starts on March 4th for millions of spouses of U.S. citizens who have not been able to apply in the past because they didn't want to be separated from their family members, they're now starting to get the process going. So it probably take a little bit longer, because it could take a little bit longer because there's so many other applications that are going to be submitted.
So great. Thank you for giving us the 5 recommendations. I think those are all great. We're learning. Is there any step that we need to take after this?
Yes. Hopefully everyone's I-130 is going to get approved, right?
Is it yes, or is it just yes?
After your I-130 gets approved, you will then have to take the next steps, and those are with the National Visa Center. So stay tuned, because
we're going to be going over the next step, which is what to do with the U.S. National Visa Center, which is going to be some great info shared by this expert attorney in English, abogada Jessica Dominguez. Vamos.
And I'm also his mom. Thank you.
Peace.